Hi, and welcome to BTV. This is Boise State in the Community. I'm your host for the evening, Demi Harris, and this is a service learning class where we learn the ins and outs of studio production while getting to explore some awesome things that are happening right here on our Boise State campus. Joining me this evening is an incredible woman. She's a professor of multicultural studies. Her background is in healthcare, but she's recently crossed into a world of academia, the arts, and museums. Joining me today is Palina Louangketh. Professor, thank you so much. Sabaidi.
Sabaidi, Demi.
So for our viewers, what does Sabaidi mean in Lao?
In Lao, Sabaidi means hello, or it's a form of greeting. And so because we're meeting tonight, Sabaidi Ton Kun, which means good evening.
All right. And in Lao, why do we bow?
You know, I would imagine it is showing a sign of humility, right? Lowering yourself to respect the person that you're greeting or to respect the person that you're with. And so you bow to lower yourself as a sign of showing respect, but also humility.
Interesting. I love that. I love that. And when did you come to Boise? Have you always been here?
So my family and I were actually former refugees from Laos. Laos was invaded by the communists during the Vietnam War. And as such, you know, many people fled, and we were one of them. And we ended up in Boise, Idaho in 1981 of October, and we've been here ever since, and Boise's pretty much my home.
Yeah, and why Boise?
You know, I get asked that question a lot,
yes.
And my initial answer has been equal distribution of immigrants. But we found my paternal uncle in Rexburg, Idaho, out of all places. And so with the refugee resettlement program, they like to place you with familiarity. And because we had family here in Idaho, it was the natural place to come.
Awesome. And at what age did you come?
Wow, so this is going to show my age, right?
Yes.
You know, I started kindergarten here. So when we got here in October, I was 4 years old.
4 years old.
Started kindergarten here.
What was that journey like from Lao to Boise?
That's a good question. You know, as someone so young, you don't remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
But what you do remember are the sounds and the smells. As you can imagine, a war-torn country, and you're fleeing for your life, you see a lot of things, and horrific things scare children, right?
Yeah.
So I saw a death along the way. I saw massacres. I smelled death, dying, decaying bodies. So that sticks with you for the rest of your life. It really does. Mom had often told us stories about how we escaped, and our journey out of Laos into Thailand and into the refugee camp took about 2.5 weeks of walking through the woods and the jungles, sleeping in trees, crossing the Mekong River, and then in the refugee camp to Idaho. That was a journey of about 2 years.
Wow. And I see you're wearing gorgeous jewelry. I have to comment. Did they have any specific meaning to you?
They do, actually. So this is an heirloom. It was my grandmother's jewelry that her grandmother had handed down to her. In a war-torn country, money doesn't matter, right? And so my grandmother had gifted my mother with a set of jewelry pieces. And along our journey, we had escape guides, men with guns and knives that took people across.
Wow.
And some of these men were known to kill people along the way. They're strangers to you, and they're risking their own lives bringing people across.
Incredible.
And so along the journey, they would say, do you have any more money? Because you or your children were a burden to us. And mom would actually bite off jewelry that was sewn in on the inner side of our clothes, on the underside of our clothes.
Oh, wow.
And there was a point where I do remember we were crossing the Mekong River, and the escape guide stopped rowing the boat. And that was a point where they would tip the boat over, and we would all drown. But they said, do you have any more money for your children, for your child especially, that we had to carry up the tree all the time? And that was me. And Mom thought, oh my gosh, this is when they're going to tip over the boat and we're all going to die. And she remembered that my grandmother had sewn a gold ring on the inside of my brother's pants leg.
Wow.
And she flipped it over, and there it was, and bit it off and gave it to them, and they rode. These items were not, Mom protected these items, and so she actually had gifted me with this probably when I was about 17 years old, and so I cherish them. It's, you know, this is pure gold, so it's very soft. You can squeeze it, and so I wear it. I wear it cautiously.
It's gorgeous. I mean, and it's so
you.
incredible that you have that from your childhood and from your family. I don't have anything from my family that dates back so many generations. So gorgeous.
Thank you.
How do you think that your background has transcended into your career now?
You know, my journey has been very interesting, I would imagine, for anybody, right? So I set out as a young adult to pursue a career in healthcare. My undergraduate was in healthcare, my graduate, my master's was in healthcare, and I was a product of healthcare for 25 years. And I say that not because I've been cloned or anything like that, but it means that I have worked in healthcare for nearly 25 years, and my former role was the Regional Director of Quality at St. Alphonsus. And, you know, it came to a point in my life where transformation was happening, and we all go through those phases in our lives sooner or later.
Yes.
And for some people, more than once, right? One of my greatest mentors, my former professor in the Master of Health Science program, Dr. Uwe Reichel, called me up one day and invited me for coffee. And he asked if I would be interested in teaching his course.
Oh, wow.
In the College of Health Science while he goes on his sabbatical. And so that really paved my way into the world of academia. And so I went forth and tested it out, and I really loved it.
Yeah.
And apparently my students did too, and so the college invited me back to create my own course around quality improvement, which is actually my professional discipline.
Okay.
As a former quality professional. So I created my own course, and then things continue to happen in my life, the transformation, right? In 2017, I was invited to serve as the advisor to the Idaho Lao community, and that opened up a whole new realm of partners and stakeholders that I never knew.
Such a turn.
Such a turn, exactly. And these were stakeholders in the immigration realm, Agency for New Americans, International Rescue Committee, the Idaho Office for Refugees, and I started to think, we're all trying to do the same thing, but we seemed still to be working in silos. And so I started thinking, how do we come together? And it wasn't like I woke up one day and said, I'm going to build a museum. But yeah, you know, it's amazing what life gifts you with, but if you don't see those as opportunities, it can easily pass you by.
Yeah. So you touched on this idea of a museum. Did you just have an eye-opening experience one day where you thought, man, I want to make a difference in a community. How will I do that?
Yes, actually, I did. So, you know, it was a childhood vision of mine to do something special for the community, for the very community, Boise, Idaho, that had embraced my family into its hearts. And it wasn't like you grow up and think, when I turn a certain age, I'm going to build a museum. It was nothing like that. But because of my role in the Lao community, my teaching role, being exposed to working with students who are also passionate about their lives.
Yes.
One night in June of 2018, I woke up literally at 12:35 a.m. Because I had a clock on my bedside and I just couldn't sleep. So I pulled the clock over and I looked at it and I was like, it's 12:35 a.m. And I just thought, wow, I think I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I pulled out my laptop. I actually got out of bed, walked into the living room, grabbed my laptop, plugged it in, and started writing my thoughts down and started writing. 6 pages later, I read through it and I was like, what is this? What is this? So I thought critically, and this is an idea for a museum. So I gave it a name, the Idaho Museum of International Diaspora, the displacement of people from their origin homelands.
I love that. And I can't wait to talk more about that and dive into that. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have a special guest joining us. where we dive into Palina's classes and what she's doing here in Boise State. Don't go away.
Registering for a Boise State class? Congratulations! By taking a Boise State concurrent enrollment class in high school, you're taking your first steps towards becoming a Bronco and getting a head start on your college career. With a 3.0 GPA or a 2.7 GPA with approval from an instructor, you're ready to begin the registration process. Step 1, register. Once you know what class you want to register for, you can register online via dualenroll.com. Set up your account and fill out an application at the web address listed below. If you're taking dual credit classes through other colleges too, they will have a separate registration process. Contact the college that offers the course for more registration details. Step 2, apply for Fast Forward. If you attend an Idaho public school, you qualify for Fast Forward. This covers the cost of taking dual credit courses, college-bearing exams, or professional technical exams. That means they're free. You'll need to create an account at the web address listed below to track your Fast Forward account information and request funding. Applying for funding is a 2-step process, so be sure to complete both steps. The process to apply for Fast Forward also varies by school district, so to get all the details you'll need, contact your school counselor. Step 3, pay fees. Students who don't qualify for Fast Forward, such as those who attend private schools or are homeschooled, will need to pay fees for each concurrent enrollment course. Course fees are $65 per credit. And that's it. You're just 3 easy steps away from beginning your journey as a proud Bronco. If you've got more questions about the concurrent enrollment registration process, go to concurrentenrollment.boisestate.edu.
Welcome back to BTV, Boise State in the Community. We have a special guest. She's one of Palina's students. Her name is Ashley Slater.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here, Ashley.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
We're both very excited to have you here. What class are you taking of Palina's?
I'm taking Honors 392, which is the Cross-Cultural Voices of Diaspora.
Is this the class you created, Palina?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you molded it, sculpted it.
Right, so I was invited to create my own course around the museum and its topics, and cross-cultural voices of diaspora sounded like a natural next step into the world of academia and how we blended in with the museum objectives.
Diaspora meaning?
So diaspora is Greek origin, and it means the displacement of people from their origin homelands. And so cross-cultural voices of diaspora takes the students on a deeper examination of how societies and cultures have evolved over time.
Interesting. So Ashley, what are some things that you do in this class?
Well, by far the coolest part of the whole class is almost every single week it feels like we have a speaker come in who has partnered with the museum and Palina, and they tell us about their immigration story, about their homelands, and I feel like I'm crying every single class because the stories are so incredibly moving.
Wow. And so do you choose who comes in and talks, Palina?
Yes. Right.
How do you choose?
You know, so identifying and the invitation process is very strategic and it's very intentional, right? Because we have lessons every week and we have topics every week, and so I want to make sure that the speakers that we bring in are aligned with our topics, and that they not only tell the story of their origin and in the context of the human journey, but there's a lesson behind that that aligns with our course objectives as well.
Yes.
And so making sure that these speakers really can speak to the students in a special way, but also that they're genuine as well, because you know, it's raw realities of their trials and tribulations coming to America.
Yeah, incredible. What do you do when a speaker comes in and you hear their story? Do you write essays on it? What do projects or assignments look like in this class?
Well, Palina is a very, I would say, like a new age professor, in which she makes sure to cater our learning experience in a way that is very unstressful, in a way that is very like pro learning. And so almost every single project that we have is completely discussion based. We do write essays every so often, but it's more focused on meeting and learning from the speakers who come. So we'll break into small groups sometimes and come up with some discussion questions that we want to ask other people in the class, or that we want to ask the speaker, and they always give really nice responses.
Awesome. And so you are a film major, correct?
Yeah.
What made you choose this class? Is it in your curriculum?
It's actually not in my curriculum. I don't know, maybe it's a little embarrassing to say, but I enjoyed Palina so much in my UF 200 class that I took the class because it had her name attached to it, and I knew that it was going to be a phenomenal class. And then I actually read the course description, and I knew it was going to be probably the best class that I've taken this semester, and it definitely has been, because Palina taught my UF 200 class, which is a morals and ethics class. And so this class is essentially morals and ethics of diaspora, and learning about diaspora in every single way. And what better person to teach it than someone who is an ethics advisor as well as a diaspora themselves.
Yeah. I mean, how awesome is it to have a student that looks up to you so much that they go outside their wheelhouse to take a cultural class?
Well, I am truly humbled, very truly humbled, and just appreciate the insights. And also I'm taking inspiration from the students as well, and so it works both ways, right? I mean, I look into their eyes. It's one thing to be teaching and lecturing, but when you're standing up in front of the class and looking into their eyes and even into their hearts, you know that, wow, this is a true partnership and a journey that we're going on. Yeah.
And so what else do you plan on taking more classes with Palina? Do you see yourself doing any other ventures with Palina in the future?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be taking my honors senior seminar in the spring from Palina. I found out today that she's teaching it, and I was super relieved, because I mean, I'll take as many classes as I can with Palina. She's truly one of the most stress-free, healthy environment teachers I think and I'm not just like saying that, like I genuinely mean it. And you can ask any single one of her students, they think that they would all agree.
I believe it. I've only known Palina for a short time, and she's an incredible, inspirational woman. So excited that we can dive into this. When you're coming up with a course curriculum and you want to teach about diaspora, do you have any reservations at first? How is this going to work in a community like Boise?
No reservations at all. Actually, it really felt like a dream come true when the Honors College invited me to create my own course around the museum. It was like, oh my goodness, this is the moment where we actually get to transform the next generation of leaders, global leaders. And so I took it very seriously. I met with many community leaders just to engage them in critical conversations around where do we want to go as a community. And I also engaged some of my team members as well, and did extensive amount of research to make sure that, as Ashley put it, modern way of approaching education, experiential learning. You know, yes, I'm the teacher and my students are students, but I see them as young, aspiring professionals.
Yes.
And so I want to be able to provide them and offer them with unique skills and a unique, evolved way of thinking, so they are prepared to step outside of the classroom and outside of college, and prepared to really launch into what it is that that they aspire to be.
Man, I want to take this class. What is the class? One more time.
Cross-cultural voices of diaspora.
Awesome. So that way, if our viewers want to go and take this class, we're going to go to a break real quick. But when we come back, we're going to dive in to Palina's new passions with museums. Don't go away. You don't want to miss it.
Moving onto campus my first year was a really, really big deal. It was the first time out of the house, first time living with so many people that I don't quite know. And so preparing for that, one of the first things I did was obviously look at the floor plan, see what I could fit into my room, what I should bring, what I should not bring. And then the next step was really money. So thinking about how I was going to pay for it, considering on-campus jobs, of which I've had a few, and it definitely helped in being able to pay rent and being able to live on campus and be a student effectively.
So one thing that was great for parents is just one inclusive payment. We really enjoyed that, it made it very easy. But as well, having someone here to help her out, having the support services was big for us. Knowing that there was resident advisors, resident directors, and also academic offerings for her at the residence hall was huge. Knowing that she'd be taken care of financially and as well as being very helpful to her to succeed at school.
Hi, and welcome back to BTV, Boise State in the Community. We were just discussing with Palina's student, and now we're going to talk about your new passion, which is the museum. It's called IMED, right? Correct?
Yes. So the acronym spells IMID, the International Museum.
Okay.
Idaho Museum of International Diaspora. So the acronym spells IMID, IMID, right? And for those who are Idahoan, you look at IMID, I am Idaho.
I love that.
Yeah.
So creative. Did that come after the fact that you realized that, or was that intentional?
You know, my board members and I were sitting around looking at the acronym IMID, and someone said, I am Idaho. We're like, brilliant, brilliant. So it stuck with us.
Great marketing.
But the museum has gone international now. And so we can't necessarily focus on I am Idaho, but for Idahoans, we obviously welcome them to say that.
Oh, good. Yeah. And so in this museum, what are some things that you're going to feature? Is it going to be an ordinary museum? You're not an ordinary woman, so I can't imagine it's going to be any old museum.
Wow. Well, you know, it is going to be a state-of-the-art museum. So to build a museum of such a structure our budget is $50 million.
Wow.
Wow, exactly. So for Idaho, for Boise, that's pretty big, right? $50 million. But the museum, state-of-the-art, obviously the museum will have the traditional museum and exhibition spaces with art galleries and whatnot. But I wanted Boise and Idaho to offer the world something special. And when we talk about diaspora, it's not necessarily an attractive word, right? It means displaced people.
Yeah.
It comes with a whole package of uncertainties and also scary elements of it, right? Because you're escaping or you're fleeing war-torn country. But when we talk about how culture has evolved over time, the museum will actually offer, yes, the museum, but we're building an international food district, which will have 2 corridors. one for a couple of high-end restaurants to attract entrepreneurs who will come in and do their diversity and inclusion training, and what better place to have it than the museum.
Yes.
Than the Diaspora Museum. And then we will give them a private tour catered around their specific focus or their emphasis. And then the other corridor of the International Food District will be the informal around-the-world theme food court. And I'm a passionate foodie, as you know.
I can't wait. Oh my gosh.
So I'm hoping my board will allow me to call it Court de Foodies.
I love that name.
And then film. So Ashley was here earlier,
yes.
right? And I'm meeting with you. And there's a program called Next Generation Lens. And this program will invite international film students to do documentaries about the human journey narrated by themselves.
Interesting.
And so this is how we empower the next generation of film leaders and producers to take it to a whole new innovative level.
Yes.
And so as such, we will be building a theater inside the museum as well.
How fun.
Yeah.
How will these film students do these documentaries? How do you choose?
Mm-hmm. You know, we are going to be working with a group of scholars, but also students as well. So it's going to be, instead of Palina-led, I want to pull together a community of filmmakers and folks in that particular industry to help us carve it out further.
Yes.
Yes, and so stay tuned.
Okay, I know we can't wait. Where's this museum going to pop up? Where's the plans?
That's a great question. So the governor had asked me that question as well, and I said Boise, and
yeah.
He said good answer. So in talking with Boise City, we had identified Museum Row, and what that is the corridor, the stretch that starts from the Discovery Center all the way towards the Cottonwood Grill.
Okay.
And there's a couple of pockets there. You know, there might be some structure or buildings there already that we would either consider assuming or building in that particular area somehow. But first thing is first, right? We have to raise the funds to be able to have that important conversation with the contractors.
Yes.
We're already on track for that.
Yeah, how do you plan on raising $50 million? I mean, that's a huge budget.
Right, in stages. So
Yes.
that's my simple answer, in stages. So $50 million will bring us the International Food Court, the museum element, the galleries, the exhibits, and we're also talking about a botanical garden, a cultural botanical garden as well. But we do have our gala. So this is an international formal black tie event secured. And we just secured that at Boise Center on the Grove. And it is set for the year 2021. And it'll bring in about 1,500 international dignitaries from around the world to come and help us raise $5 million. That's going to be our fundraising goal for the gala. But it is on September 11th. What an iconic date.
Yes.
For
wow.
to celebrate how the world came together, right? And I think,
Yes.
and that was not the date that I selected. That happened to be the only date available. So
Fitting.
it was fortuitous. Yeah.
And so, when is this going to come? When's the projected date?
Yeah. So the gala 2021, our aim for the initial build phase launch is in 2023 with a $10 million budget. And so we'll obviously have to scale it back because to have that conversation with the contractors will most likely be in 2022. So that money will already have to be raised by 2022.
How exciting.
It is.
And
It is.
so, can anyone come to this black tie event? Can I come in a gown? How
I sure hope so.
How does someone find out about this gala if they want to come? Do they have to get tickets?
That's a great question, Demi. Thank you for asking. Absolutely, right. Any black tie event, there will be marketing involved. We just secured the location and the date, and so efforts are underway to market this, and I'm in the process of recruiting a chair for the gala. I've already secured my International Gala Decorations Committee chair, and I'm excited because we've been talking about the centerpiece for the tables, and if you think about the IMID and what it represents, right? The centerpiece, and I don't know if I'm sharing this too much, but I'm going to go ahead and share it because I'm excited. Will be a globe and then some other decorations around it.
Gorgeous.
And the theme for the IMID is really the IMID's mantra, and that is experience the world in Idaho.
I love that. How gorgeous, and I'm so excited. We have so much more to talk about, but we're gonna have to say goodbye for this evening. This has been Boise State in the Community. I would like to thank Ray Mullins, my studio technician, Ryan Uria, my director, and Dakota Nunez, my producer. Thanks, have a good night.